From Seoul, Korea, KBS World Radio News Today starts right now.
On today's broadcast, the South Korean government plans to fly in 380 Afghan evacuees and their families who have assisted with Korean operations on Thursday. The presidents of South Korea and Colombia discuss expanding economic cooperation during their summit meeting held on Wednesday. And the country again records over 2,000 new cases of COVID-19. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Emma Kalka. Some 380 people who assisted Korean operations in Afghanistan, as well as their families, are set to arrive in South Korea on Thursday. Vice Foreign Minister Tae Jong-moon said Wednesday that Seoul has been working to move out of the country Afghan staff members who expressed a desire to flee Taliban rule together with their spouses, parents, and underage children. He said they are currently in the process of entering Kabul airport and will arrive in Incheon International Airport sometime Thursday aboard Korean military planes. Che said the government decided to help them out of moral responsibility for those who worked with South Korea and given the country's global standing as an advanced nation which upholds human rights. The evacuees had worked at the South Korean Embassy, a Korean hospital and vocational training center in Bagram, and with a Korean rehabilitation team based in Charkar for several years. The vice minister said the Afghans will be coming not as refugees, but as persons of special merit. Upon arrival, they will undergo quarantine procedures and move to temporary facilities as it is determined whether they will stay in South Korea or move on to another country. Meanwhile, the government will allow Afghan citizens already residing in the country to remain under a temporary status. The Justice Ministry announced on Wednesday that it reached the decision as Afghan nationals are fleeing their homeland after the Taliban regained control of the country. Those whose visas are about to expire but cannot be extended can stay and work under temporary residential status after they undergo identification procedures. Those who are able to extend their visas may do so as usual. For those whose visas have already expired, they will be allowed to remain until the situation in Afghanistan becomes safe enough for them to return home voluntarily. Justice Minister Pak Bom-kae said the latest decision was made on humanitarian grounds, as it has become difficult to return home due to the unstable political situation in Afghanistan. The government's latest decision is set to affect 434 Afghans residing in the nation, including 72 whose visas have expired. The leaders of South Korea and Colombia discussed expanding economic cooperation in the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Summit talks between President Moon Jae-in and Colombian President Ivan Duque were held in Seoul on Wednesday during Duque's 3-day state visit at Moon's invitation. The South Korean president proposed that the two sides further expand exchanges and cooperation in both the public and private sectors, covering digital transition and environment-friendly areas. Moon sought support for South Korean companies to take part in Bogota's digital and eco-friendly infrastructure projects. Duque welcomed such participation, citing Seoul's development based on science, technology, and innovation. The leaders also agreed to work together in tackling the climate crisis, as Colombia is the host country for next year's Partnering for Green Growth and the Global Goals 2030 Summit, after South Korea hosted it earlier this year. Wednesday's summit was Moon's first with a state leader from Central or South America since the outbreak of the pandemic early last year. Business groups from South Korea and Colombia have decided to set up a committee to expand cooperation in the digital and environment-friendly sectors during Colombian President Ivan Duque's 3-day state visit. The Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy said on Wednesday that the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Chamber of Commerce of Bogota signed a memorandum of understanding for the new committee in Seoul. The two sides are expected to strengthen cooperation by launching mutually cooperative projects on a regular basis and holding investment briefings. Industry Minister Moon Seung-uk proposed that the two sides fully utilize their free trade agreement to expand trade and increase cooperation in artificial intelligence, clean energy, and future vehicles. The minister and Colombian Minister of Energy and Mining, Diego Mesa Puyo, also held separate talks to discuss linking their respective carbon neutrality campaigns and eco-friendly energy policies.
You're now listening to the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul, Korea.
Daily COVID-19 infections surpassed 2,000 again after 5 days, marking the second highest tally to date. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency said on Wednesday that 2,155 new cases were added throughout Tuesday, raising the accumulated caseload to 241,439. It is only the fourth time there were more than 2,000 infections in a day, all within this month. Of the new cases, 2,114 were local transmissions, while 41 were from overseas. By region, the Seoul metropolitan area accounted for 1,369 local cases, or 64.8% of the total. 9 more deaths have been confirmed, raising the death toll to 2,237. The fatality rate stands at 0.93%. The number of critically ill patients set a new record for the second straight day, rising by 14 from the previous day to 434. Following the daily tally announced for the 24-hour period of Tuesday, Prime Minister Kim Buk-hyum called for vigilance. The Prime Minister said during a COVID response meeting on Wednesday that the number of daily COVID-19 cases has exceeded 2,000 again after 5 days, while 9 in 10 domestic transmissions are of the highly contagious Delta variant. He added that an analysis of 24,000 domestic infections has found that the Delta variant produces more than 300 times the amount of virus compared to previous strains during the initial phase. Kim called for vigilance, saying that the current outbreak is on a whole new level. He said small merchants are suffering more than at any other time due to the strong social distancing restrictions and promised to provide relief funds as soon as possible. Window seats on trains for next month's Chuseok holiday will be open for sale first, similar to last year, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues. According to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters on Wednesday, after window seats on train rides from September 17th to 22nd are sold, it will decide whether to allow sales of the remaining seats in accordance with the virus situation. Senior Health Ministry official Park Hyung said further forecasting of the situation during the Korean Thanksgiving holiday is necessary as the virus spread continues and vaccinations are ongoing. The benchmark Korea Composite Stock Price Index rose 8.51 points, or 0.27% on Wednesday, closing the day at 3,146.81. The tech-heavy Kosdaq also rose, gaining 4.60 points, or 0.45%, to close at 1,017.78. On the foreign exchange, the local currency weakened 2.51 against the dollar, ending the day at 1,168.1 won. And that's the news from KBS World Radio News Center in Seoul. I'm Emma Kalka.